Good evening, family. My name is Naroz Anis, and I'm speaking from Arbitrary Detention from Villawood Immigration Detention Center. I'm going to start off my video with a quote. It says, "When it's uncomfortable, when it's unpopular, even when it's dangerous to speak the truth, is the precise time when the truth should be spoken." And my today's vlog is about the bad news we received in the morning, where our very own Minister LNP did a whole press conference unchallenged in the morning, telling one lie after another, bringing in yet another fascist authoritarian legislation to have the mobile phones banned in immigration detention. Now, it was really disheartening to watch the whole press conference where Minister Taj is speaking a lie after another lie, and not one Australian journalist questioned or challenged Minister Taj on any of his lies. And before I start my vlog today, I want to take an oath that everything I will speak, all the facts that I will reveal in this video are truth and nothing else but the truth, to the best of my knowledge, and I open myself up for any criminal charges if I lie. And now, before I get on the topic of why the minister and this government really want to ban the mobile phones in detention, I just want to touch base and update the public on a matter of cash for visas, which I brought to public domain in 2019. So many of you would be aware that I wrote a blog back in February 2019 exposing that how a drug lord, William Sulavi Batham, a Kiwi citizen who was sentenced to 10.5 years jail in Queensland for major drug manufacturing and supply, was able to get his visa back in a couple of months by paying a bribe of about $80,000. Now, after I wrote the blog, there was it was covered in the Fairfax papers and Channel 10, and the same day it hit the mainstream media, I was met on the same day by Australian Border Force removal officers threatening me with deportation. Massive coincidence? I don't think so. It was victimization. They wanted me gone. It was also covered widely in the media, and questions were asked in the Senate estimate. So fast forward to now in 2020. Earlier this year, Senator Nick asked the department as to where the investigation about the cash for visas is at, because previously it was advised to the senators that the matter was referred to ACLI. Then it was advised that ACLI has referred the matter back to the department, and then they advised the senator that they've closed the investigation. The department investigated their own corruption and found the department didn't do anything wrong. It was reported in BuzzFeed News. Now, Senator Nick obviously rightly asked that, have you actually spoken to the whistleblower, being myself? Have you actually interviewed me? And because I have further information and further evidence to add. And they took the question on notice. So on the 22nd of April, I received a phone call from the director of the Australian Border Force Integrity and Professional Standards Branch. He asked me if I'll be willing to speak with the assistant director of IPNS and his colleague. I'm not going to mention any names for their privacy, and I agreed. He said the 5 topics they wished to speak to me about was: number 1, cash for visas; number 2, allegations of victimization, which I suffered after blowing the whistle; number 3, CERC officers preventing me from lodging complaints in the detention center; and number 4, CERC officers bringing drugs into detention; and number 5, the issue of the drugs mafia, which is run by CERC guards in the detention network. I agreed to that meeting in good faith, and on the 23rd of April, I was met with the assistant director of IPNS and his co-worker, and they started the meeting by using a recording device, and I did what they call in law a jurat, J-U-R-A-T. Took an oath that everything I'll say is the truth. The meeting went on for about 6 hours, and I provided them irrefutable evidence on the subject of cash for visas matter and a number of other evidence and information regarding the matters discussed. Now, 6 hours worth of meeting, and it was brought to my attention this week that the Department of Home Affairs have advised the Senate that they met me on the 23rd of April, and I wasn't able to provide any further information to them. It's blatantly false. It's a massive lie, and I shouldn't be surprised given the track record of Department of Home Affairs. And even though this was a matter of public interest, I restrained myself from speaking about this matter publicly since the start of the so-called investigation, just in case the corrupt elements, the corrupt officials in Department of Home Affairs don't get a heads up that they're under investigation. They were never being investigated. The whole investigation was a farce. Now, the nature of the evidence is it's a very sensitive piece of evidence. It's very vital, and it's irrefutable. I was going to reveal the nature of the evidence and just put it out on the public domain because it's one of public interest, because no organization seems to be independently investigating this matter. But before I start the stream at about 5:15, I received a notification from an independent investigation agency who I wrote to yesterday, and they've confirmed to me that they are going to look into this. So at this stage, until the completion of their investigation, in the public interest, I won't reveal any further details in relation to this matter, and I hope they do proper investigation and find these corrupt elements, because there are a number of drug lords with big pockets who have been able to bribe the department officials for the release and for the grant of their visas. Now, let's see if they refuse to investigate it. They don't investigate properly. We'll speak about it again. We'll speak about the mobile phones issue, where Minister Taj has introduced legislation today to ban the mobile phones in detention. Now, mind you, doesn't matter what language they use to sell this draconian legislation, it is going to be a blanket ban on mobile phones throughout the detention center. Like, for example, I'm not a bloody terrorist, a pedophile, a murderer, none of that. I've been detained without charge. There's no guarantee in the legislation that they can't take my mobile phone away. It's up to the border force, or the so-called minister. And if their history is anything to go by, they've taken arbitrary actions one after another. They've shown blatant disregards for the courts, so they simply can't be trusted. For example, I shouldn't even be in detention. On the 2nd of March 2020, I won my appeal in the full Federal Court of Australia by unanimous judgment of all 3 judges. On the 5th of March 2020, the Australian Human Rights Commission sent its report, got it tabled in the Federal Parliament via the Attorney General, and they declared my detention to be arbitrary and asked the Minister of Immigration to use his Section 195A powers to release me from arbitrary detention. Yet I'm still here. Why? Because I'm their political prisoner. They bloody hate me because I speak the truth and I speak about the gross human rights violations. I mean, everything I love, they took it away from me. And now they're angry because I still have a voice. This is a so-called democratic country and shouldn't be happening, but yet it is. Now, let's speak about all the false allegations which Minister of Immigration raised this morning. He falsely claimed that mobile phones are being used to plan escapes. Not one escape has happened since the introduction of mobile phones? Not one. If anything, the antisocial behavior has reduced because the detainees can finally speak to their families, speak to their loved ones. The detainees have been locked up for a long time. We can't even see our loved ones. I spent two bloody years from 2017 onwards, 2 years on Christmas Island. Couldn't meet anyone. The Christmas Island was in the middle of nowhere. And tell you what, we only had we won the mobile phones class action 2019, only had the mobile phones since 2019. So until then, there was no media outlet covering the gross human rights violations on Australian soil in the onshore detention. None. The Australian media simply cannot be trusted. The issues of public interest, especially when it comes down to covering the gross human rights violations of this Australian government. I'm going to go as far as to say that there's not much to differentiate the Australian media from the mouthpiece media of the Communist Party of China. That's how far we have gone. Now, this is a big one. Mr. Taj falsely accused that mobile phones are used to start or coordinate riot or something. This is a big one. I'm going to reveal this for the first time publicly. I was a witness to one riot at Yonga Hill Immigration Detention Center in 2018. It is true the riot started after a 22-year-old Iraqi man named Sarwan Al-Haji committed suicide in Yonga Hill IDC after being bullied and goaded by Serco guards and after he was refused help from IHMS. Now, it is true, when he died and when he was found hanging, the detainees from the Falcon compound burned the compound down. But here's the big thing. This riot was pre-planned, and APF had intelligence about it at least a week ago before this, because Serco was involved in the planning of this riot because they had a vested interest. I'm revealing this for the first time. Serco had a vested interest. Serco of Yonga Hill IDC and the top management had a vested interest because by this time the government had shut down the Christmas Island Immigration Detention Center, and Christmas Island IDC was a big money spinner for Serco Group, and it was in their interests that Christmas Island IDC be reopened. So their plan was, let the guys riot. It was 4 or 5 people at best. How can the whole army of Serco couldn't control 4 to 5 boys? I saw that happening live. They literally let that happen. Not only that, the Serco management provided drugs such as ice to these 4 to 5 detainees, and they told these detainees, Serco guards and the management told these 4 to 5 detainees as to which place to burn first to disable the CCTV cameras. This is why they don't have a single thing on CCTV, because this information, which was only available to Serco and Border Force, was provided to detainees as to which area to burn first to disable the CCTV footage. So Serco was responsible for that riot, and it wasn't the detainees, nothing to do with the mobile phones. All fingers, all pointers of everything that happens in detention points to Serco. Now, let's talk about the drug situation. I recently, a month or so ago, tweeted a thread on how drugs are still coming into detention when there are no visitors coming in. Even when the visitors are coming in, the visitors can't bring in like as much as a piece of paper into the detention center. It's not allowed. Visitors get tested for all kind of stuff before they're let in. They're almost like strip search. right? Visitors don't bring drugs in, detainees don't bring drugs in. It's the Serco mafia, which is Serco drugs mafia, which is very powerful, very, very powerful, which is running this drugs racket in the detention network. And I point out that I provided this information to the Australian Border Force Integrity and Professional Standards Branch, but they don't seem to have a keen interest in investigating this at all. Because with the banning of these mobile phones, all they want to do is avoid accountability. This government, look at their track record. It is they do not want to be transparent. They do not want to be accountable. And I demand and a request from Jackie Lambie. Jackie, you promised that you will stand up for the underdog. Please stand up for us. We beg you, 1,400 people from onshore detention, we beg you, please stand up for the underdog. LNP, this banning of mobile phones has got nothing to do with security at all. It has everything to do with avoiding accountability. Now, Dodge was just so many lies. He was saying currently, Serco Border Force, the minister, doesn't have any right to search us or search our rooms, which is fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit, because they search us all the fucking time. They bring in the sniffer dogs all the fucking time. It's well documented on video, on pictures. I posted a couple of pictures today already, where this Serco, with the help of their ERT guards, they almost strip search us. Then they search our rooms, ransack it. I can't have as much as an extra pillow, not one. They will take it away. How the fuck are they gonna let anyone have anything they don't like? It's all about control. It's all about control, and that's what they want, and it's all about cover up. Tell you what, it just gives me the shakes. Prior to 2019, when there was no mobile phones in detention, I'm an eyewitness to the Serco ERT guards at MIDC and on Christmas Island, bashing detainees almost to death, disabling others by taking them to the blind spots of the center or switching their body cameras off. And then who is the judge or police going to believe? The detainee or the Serco guard? We can't even contact police here. Even if you have evidence on video on our phones, a Serco guard bashing a detainee, nobody will charge a Serco guard. Tell you what, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, that's how long I've been in arbitrary detention. Not once have I seen a Serco guard being charged for assaulting a detainee. And so much evidence that they've done it so many times. So, it's just, I mean, other major issue is that a lot of Serco guards have revenge on their minds. They want to take revenge from detainees who expose their corrupt conduct and their assaults on detainees. And as soon as the mobiles are taken away, what they do is they come to your room, they switch off their body cameras, and they assault detainees to close to death. And there will be unexplained deaths. And also, I know a number of detainees who will attempt to take their lives or do self-harm. The self-harm incidents are going to spike through the roof. Mobile phones are our lifelines, helps us speak to our families, our loved ones, when we can't even see them. Unlike a prison system where you have a right to see your family in detention, we don't have those rights. I mean, they can throw us from one state to the other part of Australia or in the middle of bloody Indian Ocean in the Christmas Island IDC, been everywhere. Now, I've been treated well in Villawood lately. I don't lie, I've been treated well, but this is because They know they will be held to account if they do anything wrong to me. If the mobile phones are gone, they can do anything. And if anything happens to me, I will hold Ellen Tudge, the Minister Ellen Tudge, personally responsible if anything was to happen to me. I shouldn't even be here. I've won my full federal court appeal. Human Rights Commission, Australian Human Rights Commission declared my detention arbitrary. Yet this government is still keeping me as a political prisoner in detention. And it is going to be, what they want is a blanket ban, and they're not, I mean, tell you what, they talk about this bloody people sharing terrorist bullshit or some sexist offenders crap. Mate, if that was the case, charged, if you know someone is doing it, I don't bloody know. If you know that some detainee is doing that, why haven't you told the police? Tell the police, right? Charge that individual person, and the criminal court can order whatever penalty they deem fit if the person is found guilty. Imagine if the government says the same thing towards the community. People use mobile phones to do illegal stuff in the community. It's everybody knows about it. Imagine if the government say, for example, nobody in the city of Sydney is going to be allowed to use mobile phones. How would you feel? Right? Now they talk about people with a criminal history. Mate, people are in detention for something fucking a driving offense they did for fucking 10 years ago. Right? 10 years ago. A driving offense. What's that got to do with the bloody mobile? They lived in the community after that time without, committing any offense. I mean, none of this is making sense. The speciality of this government is making up laws, demonizing a group of people, and then bringing up a draconian legislation which gives them more power and less accountability. It's time to rise up, Australia, for human rights, for your rights, for our rights. We're all in this together. And unless we speak out and stand up for each other, things are looking bleak. So I request my fellow Australians, call your local member of parliament, call Christina Kennelly, call Jackie Lambie, and demand that they oppose the banning of the mobile phones in detention. God bless Australia, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll continue bringing you more truth. Thank you.